Final ending of the spin, part 1 down below. After a few more conversations, I went back to my apartment, where I found a painkiller with my name on it. In no time at all, I was in a pleasant fuzzy fog. The door was being pounded very hard. It seemed like I listened to it for ages until I eventually got up from the couch. Marie came charging in and nearly took me out. "How severe is your injury? They ought to put that moron to end." I attempted to clear it by shaking my head. Attempted to speak, but the words were slurred. "What a wretched child. I'll help you get into bed." Leading me into the bedroom, she took me to sit on the bed. She undid my shirt, assisted me in getting down to my boxers, and carefully removed my baggy workout pants so as not to cause me any pain. She kissed me quietly and ruffled my hair as she tucked me in. I went to sleep. A little while later, I felt the warm, soft flesh against me as I half woke. I gave myself a closer hug and turned back to sleep since it felt so good. "Dear love, good morning. Are you feeling better?" She rolled out of bed before I could respond. I heard the shower running, and then I saw her leave while still in my robe. "Are you in need of assistance? I would be pleased to help you. I'll see to it that everything is spotless." Yes, she helped me into the shower, but it was business as usual. She then assisted me in putting on my brace and a pair of running shorts. While preparing coffee, she clattered around the kitchen. She smiled as she smiled and set our cups down. "How did you know I was hurt?" Evelyn informed me. She gave me a call and asked me to an unplanned lingerie party. "I would love to," I told her. "She gives off a really pleasant vibe." "When I brought you up, she told me once more how much she appreciated you and that it was unfortunate that you had been harmed." I hung up as soon as I possibly could. "I needed to check on you to make sure everything was okay." "How did you know where I lived?" She reddened slightly. "I received assistance from the Winslow private investigator I hired. He needed 30 minutes to complete it. I had no one to ask, so I wasn't sure what else to do." She nervously glanced around the kitchen. "Say it," I prompted her to say. "I'm really sorry you were harmed. I simply had to come because I knew you were by yourself. You seemed to need me, somehow. Indeed, I took advantage of your frail physical and mental condition. It's not going to happen, so stop wasting time waiting for an apology. I would carry it out once more. To be honest, I want to do it again as often as possible as long as you let me." "Okay, that's it." I maintained a neutral expression in my eyes until she appeared unhappy. I gave her a cheek kiss and smiled, suggesting that I might accept her offer once she was legally free. Talking nonstop, she practically danced around the kitchen. I smiled as I sipped my coffee. Late in the afternoon, she departed. Nothing more happened, even though she wanted to play and I still didn't feel right about it because the pain was returning. She made sure to take another shower with the door open and had brought an overnight bag, just in case. She emerged with nothing on but a towel wrapped around her head. Her physique impressed me. She laughed when she saw me. I like to be clean-shaven, but since I knew he detested hair, I let it go when I found out he was cheating. Just another tactic to keep him out of my life. Idiot Winnie the Pooh is. How on earth could someone be unfaithful to you? Not simply your body or mind, but the entire bundle. I'll never get it. Still nude, she sat down next to me and giggled at her nickname. I've given it a lot of thought. Spoke with a shrink as well. She said that having a wealthy and attractive wife and sleeping with almost anyone who agreed to be his partner was probably a power move for him. Usually said it had something to do with his origins. Quite frankly, I no longer care and I'll never know. He never seemed to think that bonding was important to our relationship because he never pushed me after I cut him off. She checked her watch. I must go. To put the final touches on the paperwork, I'm meeting with my lawyer and the accountants. I'll give you a call later. You had better respond. She left after giving me a huge kiss. I sat with doubts eating at me. I had to admit that I was in love with her. But was I just a stopgap, something to hold her over until she regained her equilibrium? Should I accept the risk? Besides, back when she was still married, she had actively pursued me. Is there a pattern there? Did I wish to learn more? I took a painkiller and passed out. I woke up 4 hours later. She had left me 4 missed calls. He wasn't home when the last message said to call her as soon as I received it. It wasn't right of me, but I did call. Talking about how well the meetings went, she exuded enthusiasm. After an hour on the phone, I told her I had to leave because the medication was starting to wear off again. Bye honey, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I returned to work after 10 days, mainly doing paperwork, trying to avoid getting hurt on my knee as much as possible. It was after 2 days that I was jumped. Knowing my knee would hurt me badly tomorrow, I limped back into the office and asked if I could make an appointment to see my doctor. I called Marie and told her everything. I also told her that the Ada and the chief could testify if necessary. It gets torn by that. It's advantageous in that it gives me additional leverage to solidify my position. When he gets home, I'll try to arrange for a process server and an off-duty police officer to be here. Nothing he says would matter to me, so I'm not going to stay and argue with him. While they work through the paperwork, I'll be staying in an extended stay suite for a few weeks. Can I rely on your assistance? Always, but only now, from a distance. This method will work better. That was not something she liked at all, but she had to accept it. She entered the bar 3 weeks later. The majority of the women had quickly become close friends with her, and they would compliment her to me. One day, following her tennis match, Evelyn mentioned her. "She seems like such a kind young woman. When this is all over, you ought to look at her. She appears to like you, is wealthy, and quite the looker." Mrs. Everly. What a wrong statement to make. I'm not sure if you are aware, but I attend college part-time. In 3 months, I will receive my degree. I took a few classes with Miss Marie, and we ended up becoming friends. Naturally, that was prior to my knowledge of her dissatisfied marriage and their membership here. She is everything you say and more. Much more. I wouldn't put her through any humiliation by attempting to convince her otherwise, but she's well beyond my reach. She gave me a long look and then started laughing. "Oh, Jerry, you've always struck me as a fairly astute man," but that comment completely refuted that. "You should take action if you sense that she likes you and you are drawn to her. People from different social and economic backgrounds fall in love all the time. Life goes on. Who you love, you love." Believe I was born into wealth. We lived in extreme poverty as I was the fourth of a Pennsylvania coal miner's daughters. After meeting Hal while attending college on a scholarship, I never turned back. Yes, I had my doubts, and my mother-in-law didn't really like me, but 33 years is a long time to be together. Although the money is nice, if he had been a coal miner like my father, I would have married him. Jerry, I believe I know you better than you realize. My spouse and father share a common heritage. You shouldn't feel bad about your feelings for her because her marriage ended before you ever got to know her. Although your sense of honor is admirable, it is out of place here. I must go now, sweetheart. Consider what I just said. Yes, I did. Things grew worse. After Mrs. Everly's friends heard about it, they launched a campaign, constantly getting us together and scheduling it for when I was free. Marie found it amusing. "Please, honey, come on. All the universe believes that me and you together are a good idea, but not you. You secretly share it as well, I can tell by the look in your eyes. Let it happen and relax your sense of propriety. Additionally, don't blame my marriage for getting in the way. I've filed for divorce and, until it's finalized, I'm legally separated. That wasn't necessary, but I did it to boost your ego. I gave it a lot of thought. Perhaps everyone was correct, and I was just an idiot. Then something occurred that led me to believe I had come too late. Dinner dances were held at the club once a month. Marie had asked me to go with her twice, but I was worried about what would happen to my reputation. Some would object to my being an employee, even though I was her guest. Despite my explanations, she remained irate. She entered while I was watching and keeping the waitresses and staff alert at my normal station. With a time slot, she immediately approached me. "Good night, Jerry. Don Thompson, this is my evening date. Thompson Manufacturing is owned by his family, so you may recognize the name." I assured him that you would look after us and that you were the greatest at what you do. She had thus taken my place, with a wealthy man who is more attractive. Like, seeking like. Her gaze was sweeping across my face. I kept my expression neutral and didn't even bat an eye, proving that my years of training paid off. "I appreciate your trust, Ms. Martin. The club will make every effort to ensure that you and your guests have a good time." My knee started hurting, so I said, "I fear I'm not physically up to speed just yet, but I'll have Susan tend to you personally." I was pointing to the cane I still needed to use. "I apologize. Please pardon me." I limped over to my newly hired bartender, Susan, and asked her to watch them. She gave me a strange look. She'd been here long enough to hear the gossip, but she did as she was told. I watched them spin around slowly for a few more minutes. Then I went into my office and closed the door. I stayed in for 45 minutes. Then I moved around to make sure everything was going according to plan, and then I left, claiming to be in pain. The following day I was off, but as soon as I walked in the next day, I was ambushed. When it comes to member wives, the big three are Mrs. Everly, Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. Simpson. There were 2 husbands seated on the board. The other oversaw our charitable endeavors, organizing events to support underprivileged children's education from community college onward. Mrs. Everly angrily exclaimed, "Office, now." I ushered them in, got them seated, and sat at my desk, wondering what on earth was going on. "How may I help you fine ladies this morning?" With pleasure, I spoke. Mrs. Simpson angrily exclaimed, "You can stop being dumb." "What?" On her arm, Mrs. Everly placed a soothing hand. "She's trying to tell you that you've really irritated a member. Our goal is to prevent things from getting worse." She hesitated as I thought about it. Other than the few occasions I had to refuse someone alcohol, I don't remember ever offending a member in my entire time here. What did I do to offend him, and who is he? I'll exert every effort to put things right. Jerry, that's the spirit. We could rely on you, I knew that. It is a woman who is the offended member. Marie Martin. All of a sudden, I had a terrible feeling about this. What have I done wrong, Mrs. Martin? I can't think of a single instance where I showed her disrespect or slight. Mrs. Jones added her voice. "Jerry, stop it. She's in love with you, and if you'll just admit it, you feel the same way. That much is obvious to everyone with eyes and ears. Last weekend, midway through the dance, she broke down in tears. When her date became irritated, he left. We, along with her friends, helped her get home. She only went out with him to advance your feelings of jealousy. We now anticipate that you two will make up and kiss soon. We would be unhappy and our husbands would be unhappy if she didn't stop being unhappy. You are at the foot of the hill and it's a trickle-down effect. Do you understand what I mean?" They all gave me expectant looks. I took a seat back and gave it some thought before I spoke. "Let me be clear on this. My future here depends on dating a member, regardless of the work I've done or the years I've spent serving this organization. Which is better, a carrot or a stick? My future self is the stick, and Marie is the carrot. Have I made the right assessment of the situation?" They all had the grace to display signs of discomfort and mild embarrassment. "Please don't try to read anything else into it. We're just trying to help two people we like get together. You two would get along great, we'd have a content member, and we could keep the person we value much more than just an employee." I sincerely thanked the women and pledged to find a speedy solution to the issue. With joyous chatter, they departed. Suzanne reported that when the building realized I was gone and chairman received my letter of resignation, it was as if a bomb went off. I vanished for a week, navigating 2 resorts and a classy bar 3 states away with my contacts to keep myself hidden while I collected myself. The women ought to have spoken with my parents. He is the least obnoxious person I have ever encountered. Refuses to accept it, even if it's in his best interests. That's what people used to hear my mom say. My father recently told me that I would make a great living if I took a job training mules to be stubborn. On my way back, I made a stop by. On Sundays, my parents and my extended family, that is, the ones who could make it, would frequently gather to eat together, bringing dishes and finishing touches to the house. When I opened the door, everything fell silent. "What?" Before everyone started chatting again, I said. "All we can say is that we're shocked to see you. It's amazing that you can still recall our residence." After giving her a hug and turning her around, I put her down. "You know my schedule, it's difficult for me to get home, especially on the weekends." "Way to shame me, Mom. Good news, I might have something a little more reliable down the road." We ate, and until mid-afternoon, I kept them occupied with stories about the bar and the dumb things that wealthy people do. My mother discovered me sitting on the porch next to me, enjoying the swing. "What's going on, son?" "I have no idea what you're talking about, Mom." She extended her arm and grasped my hand. "Your girlfriend was looking for you when she stopped by 2 days ago. Marie strikes me as a really kind individual. What caused the two of you to argue when she was so messed up?" "She was familiar with me. I would have been up and pacing if she hadn't been holding my hand." "Mom, she is not my girlfriend. Even though she was, we haven't gotten into a fight." She straightened her dress, which helped me to relax. "Yeah, something really got to her. She claimed to have searched everywhere for you and that she owed you an apology. Naturally, it's none of my business, but I believe she loves you. And to reach my dozen, I still need one more." She knew I would chuckle at that. Her goal had always been 12 grandchildren, and the 11th one had arrived 2 years prior. "When I get home, I'll give her a call. I swear, as you can see. Before I leave, I'd like to see you settled down with a nice woman because I'm heading up there." I gave her cheek a kiss. "You're 61 years old, Mom, and in better health than I am. You will outlive all of us." By midnight, I had said my goodbyes and arrived home. After an hour at home and just getting into bed, there was a loud knock on my door. "Marie." She leaped into my arms as soon as I opened it, almost bringing me to the ground. I just let her go until she stopped sobbing and talking. "Where have you been lately? Do you know how many people have been trying to find you?" "Oh well, before you kick me out, I have something to tell you." I held out. "I went out with that guy just to pique your curiosity. To me, he is nothing. When you performed your act and walked away, I sobbed. He left me at the dance by myself because he was so disgusted with me. It seems that having money doesn't teach manners. Furthermore, I was clueless about Evelyn and her friends' plans. Let's just say that a few wives on very short leashes are currently at the club because of how it kind of hit the fan when you resign. The refusal to accept the resignation means that you are still employed. When you get back, the chairman told me he expects a call. He gave me hell for a while, I must say. I ignored my curiosity as to why the chairman would care what she did. Marie, She wouldn't stop talking, so I had to stop. I yelled at her at last. "Hi Marie, quiet down." She stopped right away, but before I could say anything more, tears were streaming down her face. "You tell me now that we will never be able to be together." "I understand," I began kissing her out of frustration, thinking that the only way to stop her talking was to fill her mouth with something else. Hard. It took her a moment to realize, and then she gave them back, even more forcefully. I had a strong suspicion that our lips would get bruised. Her sparkling eyes spied on me when we broke. "Is that what it takes to stop you talking?" "I won't ever stop talking if it is." I offered her a small tongue to play with for a short while. I noticed the first hints of a smile when we broke. I touched her lips with my fingers as she opened her mouth. "Stop now, or I'll spank you again later. It's my turn to speak, okay?" She laughed. "That's not much of a threat, but okay, I'm all ears." "The other night, I was about to tell you that I want us to go out, make ourselves known, and see if we can take this anywhere. The women at the club tried to blackmail me after you showed up with a date, and I just lost it. When she got closer, I could only get that out of her. She was rustling around the kitchen when I woke up. She wore nothing but an apron. I enveloped her with my body from the back. We were just starting to plant a kiss when the doorbell rang. She tipped her head back. She bolted into the bedroom as I took a robe from her. It was the chairman. That would be interesting, all right. He walked right past me without waiting for an invitation. Do I get the offer of coffee? I overcame my surprise at last. Obviously, sir. Sugar, cream. What on earth have you been up to? Your helper is a pressure-intolerant idiot. Your Suzanne is a treasure. Without her and the chef, the establishment would have crumbled. Didn't you get my email? The gist. We laughed a lot before we tore it apart. Do you think your knee will be ready to go back in a few days? That, in my opinion, is the longest Suzanne can resist before losing it and killing him. As I was beginning to believe that things couldn't get any more bizarre, Marie emerged from the bedroom wearing only a t-shirt. She approached, gave the chairman a quick peck on the cheek, and picked up a cup. Hello, Papa. Have you yet to reason with your prospective son-in-law? I admit that I appeared to be a deer struck by headlights. Chairman smiled and Marie pounded the table with laughter. I regret not remembering to bring my phone outside. You ought to view your visage. At last, the chairman chuckled. Give me a call, John. We'll be interacting with each other a lot more if everything works out, after all. Marie, never forget your lesson. I understand that he's a little slow, but I have no doubt that he will ask you soon. I have to leave for work now, so you have to clean up the mess you made. In case someone is curious, you were receiving therapy for your knee. I'll see you tonight at the club. He leaned in to give me a back pat, making sure she couldn't hear. Ask her right away. She's embarrassed herself in front of you. Please restore her honor. I will promptly attend to that. I swear, I said quietly enough that she wouldn't hear. She was wondering what we were saying as she cast a suspicious glance at us. After sharing a shower, we played for a while, tried showering again, gave up, and made love before taking separate showers once more. Never in my life have I been as clean, I believe. When I walked in, Suzanne and Aaron did everything but spread a red carpet in front of me because they were so glad to see me again. The assistant manager, Michael, nearly planted a kiss on me. I've learned something new about who I am. I'm not in charge. Please let me return to my regular job as a bartender when you recover. I gave him my word that he would have a place with us, and then I got to work. I worked diligently until Marie arrived, which was almost 7 o'clock. She showered me with kisses in public. Several people were smiling, and nobody appeared surprised. Love, have dinner now. You must maintain your strength for things like rehab. Without resistance, I trailed behind into the dining area. She placed an advance order. I gave her a look. Aaron is aware of your interests. I'm simply making the most of our time together. We enjoyed the meal and chatted about unimportant topics for a while. We became serious over coffee. Okay, give it away. Why didn't you identify your father for me? You already showed sensitivity to matters of status and finances. I can picture your face when I tell you that. Incidentally, my dad is the chairman of the board at your place of employment. Now, let's talk about more pleasant things, like something you might want to ask me, maybe. I gave her hopeful face a smile. When it's right, my lovely. There's that annoying little divorce to settle first. She scowled. It's unbelievable that the garbage wants counseling. What does he intend to acquire? Oh well, I'll respond to myself. A better division. When we revealed to him the extent of what he had concealed from me, including the offshore account and the precise amount deposited, he almost suffered a heart attack. My attorney advises you to wait it out. If he notices that we're not rushing, he might give in and accept things sooner. It would be best to keep our serious involvement a secret. It's a little difficult to hide that now. I turned to see what she had her eyes fixed on. The big three coming at us full speed ahead. I got up and politely offered them a seat. I was surprised when they said no. All we want to do is apologize. Our husbands strongly reinforced that what we did was wrong. We had no business interfering. Pardon a couple of elderly women who were attempting to facilitate love a bit more quickly. I gave them a fierce look. No, they gave me a shocked look. I made an effort to enjoy the moment before I had to smile. Someone kicked me in the back and pointed me in the right direction, but I can't forgive them for it. I am obliged to you, and I'm grateful. Many thanks for that. They grinned, said they would like to talk, and took a seat. A few more minutes later, I checked my watch and got up. Ladies, I have to return to work even though I'm enjoying the company. I hope you have a nice rest of the evening. Everybody insisted that I give them a cheek kiss, with the exception of Marie, who pulled me into a full kiss. When she told me she would see me at home, the older women laughed. I'm so glad that this has been resolved. Ladies, it's really working well so far, so I'll leave you to plan my future without my input or concern for the moment. Marie, don't you agree? The entire table lit up red, and I turned to leave. I wanted to whistle. Marie believed that I was too far away to hear them. So, Aunt Evelyn, what's on your mind? Why, sweetheart, wedding plans. What more is there? I heard that from halfway across the room. As the others laughed, I turned to see Marie with her hand to her mouth. She relaxed when I gave her a smile. Returning to my job, I questioned whether I would ever stand a chance once she made up her mind that she desired me. Most likely not. 5 months later, the divorce was finalized. He pushed counseling and fought it. He began to haggle when he had run out of options, and even his lawyer told him it was a waste of time. They appeared to own 3 auto dealerships. After being married, he had one, and they invested in 2 more with her money. It was the catalyst for his travels. Eventually, he kept his original dealership, their old house, all the apartments and office buildings, and his not-so-secret bank account. She received a few investments, some cash, and the dealerships for Ford, Hyundai, and Buick, Honda, and Subaru. I do not mean a little. I accompanied her to court on the day it was finalized. Remarkably, he was there as well. While Marie continued to show me small gestures of attention in public, he continued to glance at us. By the time we left the courtroom, he was on the verge of blowing up. Approaching us in the hallway, he was almost yelling. The person behind the bar. I take it you're kidding. The bartender, Dret. I think you got me ratted out. I'm going to destroy you. I brushed a startled Marie aside as I took in the scene. He couldn't be reached by the bailiff or the deputy sheriff in the hall. He had his lawyer present, but he was not going to stand in our way. I allowed him to approach, evading his thrust, throwing him off balance, and grinning as he collided with the wall head first. When he jumped up, I was waiting for him, standing over him. I struck him hard in the gut. The police arrived with tasers out as he lay there gasping. He simply misunderstood the idea of giving up while you're behind, cursed at me once more, and knocked the elderly bailiff down in an attempt to reach me. A state trooper had arrived by then and had been tasered so much that he was glowing like a Christmas tree. They had him handcuffed while he was still convulsing. The DA pursued him for assaulting the bailiff and causing a disturbance, but I chose not to press charges. He was sentenced to 200 hours of community service and 3 weekends in jail. Occasionally, I catch a glimpse of him wearing an orange vest, collecting trash from the side of the road. I always wave and blow. Her dad paid me a visit. I have heard of a wedding taking place in late June. Is that correct? Yes, I replied with a smile. I'd ask you for her hand, but I'm afraid it's too late. She already mommed for mine. All right, Jerry, I've always liked you. You performed admirably in ways I never would have considered. You would be an excellent politician. You would have been an excellent manager of the club. Really, too bad. I was taken aback. What exactly are we talking about here? He appeared taken aback. Why, of course, your resignation. There would be a conflict of interest if my son-in-law worked here. Wouldn't function at all. So, if I marry your daughter, I have to resign. Afraid so. I sagged to the ground. I'd had this dream for a very long time. Perhaps ridiculous, but my dream nonetheless. I gave myself a shake. Marie would never be worth a job. Good thing I'm marrying money, I suppose. His smile faded. Let me get this straight. I will never allow my daughter to have a husband she has to keep up. He paused to see how I would respond. Additionally, you are employed alongside me. I need to watch out for the gold digger husband she married. Startled, I glanced up. His face was beaming with happiness. Jerry, I've followed your ascent to the top. You never faltered, assumed more than your fair share, and never stopped looking for methods to improve this club. Without assistance, you purchased and obtained your diploma. I think you're the most moral man I know. There's iron inside that cool exterior of yours. You made plans, created a schedule, and completed all of your tasks. Son, you should be proud of who you are. I am aware of it. He inclined forward, nearly bringing our noses together. Jerry, I created a successful company. Many people rely on me to support them financially. It's a significant duty. Having said that, I still want you to study business. I promise to put in more effort than anyone else, put you at the bottom of the hierarchy, and make sure you earn every promotion. When you're ready, I'll hand it over to you, entrusting it to my grandchildren, so I can finally retire knowing that someone capable is in charge. Are you able to manage that? I shook his hand, laughing. I don't know, but I'm sure I'll find out. Thus, it happened that on a bright Saturday afternoon in June, Marie Patterson, who had reverted to using her maiden name, became Mrs. Jerry Stone in front of my family, friends, and the majority of the country club members. Mom was very pleased. She had been asked by Evelyn to assist with mother of the bride duties, and she revealed a secret to them both right before she left to walk down the aisle. She addressed my mother, saying, I know it's my day, Mom, but I want to give you a gift. She extended an envelope containing an invitation to her. Mom has it to this day. An announcement of birth. With great pleasure, Mr. and Mrs. Jerry Stone announced the birth of their son or daughter, Constance or John, on or around December 15th. 12 will be her nickname, her parents are happy to announce. For the entire service, Mom and Evelyn sobbed. If you include Marie stopping her birth control and not telling me the day I proposed to her, the pregnancy was a decision we made together. The night before the wedding, she had told me. We both acknowledged our desire for kids. They will need to be close together because I want at least 2 and I'm getting close to the danger zone in terms of age. We simply cannot afford to squander time. As I watched her float down the aisle, I was overjoyed for 2 reasons. 16 months later, Johnny followed Connie. Marie had her tubes tied and declared the factory closed. John gave me every dirty task and worked me like a dog, but I never complained and I even forbade Marie from doing so. Following a grand retirement celebration at the club 7 years later, I observed my name being added to the president door the following week. When it came to grandchildren, Mom loved bragging to everyone that she had a baker's dozen. After Dad passed away 3 years ago, she seemed to spend more and more time at our house, hanging out with Evelyn at the club while Marie and I worked. She really hit it off with Evelyn. We had purchased some land and constructed Marie her ideal, child-friendly home. 4 years later, I returned home to find Marie and Mom talking to a man wearing a hard hat while large machinery was parked at the far end of the property. I walked over. "What are we building?" Marie kept her head down, concentrating on her plans. "A mother-in-law cottage." "For who?" Mom pretended not to laugh as she looked up from the papers with an exasperated expression. "My mother-in-law." In addition to being the CEO of her own business, Marie had opened a third dealership, putting her ex in direct competition. Following their divorce, life wasn't too good. Because of his little stunt of using my name in his affairs, they kicked him out of it, which set up the argument. 3 towns over, he joined another club. Though he signed prenuptial agreements with his second and third wives after learning from his mistakes, he continued to see them after his infidelity was discovered. Marie informs me that he resides with a lady who is 17 years older than him. Despite her great wealth, she keeps him on a very short leash and won't marry him. I'm aware of the remarks made about me. I wed a wealthy man. I crept up to the top. They're my henpicked. If Marie heard anything like that, she would undoubtedly correct them right away. The sweetest man on the planet. He genuinely doesn't care and follows my advice because it makes me happy. However, I respect him when he says no because it really means no. She has been known to unintentionally rub her behind, and I have given her the spanking I promised a few times. Having a CEO draped across your lap, her bare bottom red, snuffling, and promising to be a good girl has a certain quality. Naturally, I make sure to apply lotion to it afterwards, and Marie refers to this as hierarchy bonding every time. I sometimes believe that she intentionally pushes me, particularly when she's under stress. They don't say it to my face, though. The truth is known to everyone who matters, including those who know me. Forget about everyone else. I like to think that all the rest is just a bonus because I married the woman of my dreams. Now I have to head to the club. I was chosen to join the board of directors. Yes, nepotism as my father-in-law continues to serve as chairman. He told me he was going to leave it shortly. At last, he claims to have found someone who is on par with his late wife. I know my new mother-in-law since I can remember, so I'm pretty sure I'll like her. Marie remarks, "We're in the unique situation," while laughing. Her stepmother will be hers, and my mother-in-law will be mine. My comment: what did you think of OP ending? Was it a little bit out of the line? Would you have done the same as OP? Comment down below, sub and bell, and I will see you in the next time.